Good morning, gang. Dutch is down here just following me around. It's okay, good boy. Trying to get sorted out here. Sorry. So, hope this is finding everybody okay. Having a okay go at it. First off, I'll start off the video by saying thank you to everybody that has been reaching out since the last video. Not the drill press video. Again, that video was recorded about 10 days before Ben's passing, and actually about a week before. I ended up recording 3 videos in a row, and one went out the Sunday before he passed. The one went out that Sunday after, which wasn't my plan, but wasn't really right frame of mind, I guess, to operate YouTube. And then I held on to that other video where I just put it out all together. I did record a jet drum sander video. I'm pretty melancholy in that video. I was showing it off. I'll watch it again after I try to edit and see how it comes off, but I'm not sure. I'll put it out because it was probably about a month ago I recorded it, and that's today is day 95 for myself and my family after Ben's passing. Now, the last video I did about everything, very well received, and thank you so much to everybody that's been reaching out to me, even prior to the video and now. Just huge thank you. I mean, my heart is so full with all the support that we've been getting. It's great. This video wasn't going to be as much as the melancholy tone, and I'd rather try not to do that if at all possible. I do apologize up front if I do come off that way at times. I guess under the circumstances, it's to be expected maybe. But today's video, what I want to talk to you about is something that we really didn't pay too close attention to as parents. We did as adults, but not as parents. And I'll put it in perspective this way. And why I'm talking about this is, how do you prepare for death? And can you actually prepare for death? And having now been walking the walk, I'm figuring now I can talk the talk. Years ago, I should say, in 2004, when Ben was born, he was our firstborn, and we get sent back to the hospital with a big packet of information, envelopes, and all that stuff. And in one of those packets that we got was the Gerber Life. If many of you aren't aware, and I know a lot of people that watch this channel are my age or even older, so this might not have anything to do with you, but maybe if you have kids that are ready to have kids themselves, you're ready to be a grandparent, or you know somebody that might be ready to be a parent, maybe this might be something that they'd like to hear. The Gerber Life Plan is basically life insurance that you get for your newborn. It works until they're 18, and then after 18, basically they can keep it and not actually put anything at all in it. It cures money, at which time they can cash it out and they get a percentage of it. I think they'll get like 90% of whatever they have, or 85%, something like that. But it does accrue interest as you add to it as a parent every year for the first 18 years. It accrues interest, and you pay into it all the time. And then afterwards, your child can do whatever they want. They're an adult then at that point. I remember I was talking to Kasha a few weeks ago about this. It was after actually recording the first video that I just recently put out. And she says, I never thought about it that way, but yeah, because we looked at the Gerber Life Plan as being I'm not putting a dollar amount on my kid. This is so, distasteful. They're not going to do stuff like this. Why would anybody? This is horrible. Knee-jerk reaction. Now, I have talked to some people, and my brother-in-law in particular, who has come out here recently and brought my mother-in-law with to visit for a while because she couldn't make it at the time of Ben's death. He did that. Him and his wife did. It's his only son, and Ben and Nick were about 2 months apart. And they went and did that Gerber Life thing, and that was good. I was like, that's great to hear. Now we didn't do that kind of stuff. And I don't think bad about anybody that has or hasn't. I mean, that was our mindset, is I'm not going to put a dollar amount on my kid. That's what I was thinking, because I guess that stigma that we might have is when you get a life insurance policy, you're putting a value on yourself or somebody else. But when you get a life insurance policy for yourself, it doesn't feel odd or awkward or anything. But to get a life insurance policy for somebody else, that was the part I guess maybe I had a problem with. And my wife did too. So we never did. Now, in the Marine Corps, I had a life insurance policy, but I never got anything out of the ordinary. Whatever they gave me, I got. When I was a cop, I had whatever the departments offered me. But then I turned around after Ben was born, and then after Ella was born, my wife and I decided to get a different life insurance policy. So we each went to someone that we knew, and they steered us to somebody they knew that did that kind of stuff. And we ended up getting life insurance policies. And I was still in law enforcement at the time. I was with Seattle PD. Probably my second year with Seattle PD, I did that. And because I believe Ella was born at the time. Maybe it was just Ben. And I did that. And so did Kasha. So I didn't think anything of that. I was like, I got one for myself. My wife got one for herself, but I felt bad getting one for my kid. And basically it's like, I can't put a value on my son's life. I can't put a value on my daughter's life. And that's where I wanted to talk to people that might be thinking that way, or just might not be thinking they want to do that, is Ben turned around, and when he got hired by UELS, which is a survey company, which also I'll pause for a second, and the folks at UELS, it's based out of Utah. They work in about 6 or 7 states. Phenomenal people. Them and the folks at Liberty have been great in handling and answering my questions. When I was getting to run around with another company, that is an insurance company that they have, a health insurance company, they stepped up and worked around and got me to connected, and we did a 3-way phone call, did everything. UELS, if you're ever looking at getting into surveying and you're in the area that you can hire by them, like Wyoming and I think South Dakota, Montana, New Mexico, Utah, there's 6 I'm missing some, but anyhow, I digress. Phenomenal company, so big shout out to UELS. They were great. Ben went online and he did his stuff. When he got hired, he worked for a while, and then you go through all your insurance. So I remember the one day I was on the computer doing something. He's like, "Hey Dad, I want to do my insurance. Can you help me, figure some of this stuff out?" So I went ahead and I'd sit in his room, and I sat back on his bed against the wall, and I was on my phone doing whatever and talking with him. We were joking about stuff or whatever. And then if he had a question, if he was reading something, I'd get up, I'd look at it, read it with him, kind of explain a little bit out, and just sit back again. So at least I was there, and that's all he needed me for, is just a sounding board of what he should or shouldn't get. So with that said, I had a general idea of what he was looking at doing. And then he was going through, he said something about life insurance, and I answered some questions for him because it had a bunch of different options, and then accidental death dismemberment, and then like HSA and all these other things. So that's to give you the perspective of what we're going through. And I just sat back. I was like, whatever. Well, then afterwards, he says, "Oh, hey, Dad," he says, "I need your social security number." He knew my date of birth. I told him my social security number. And I go, "Do you need Mom's or Ella's, or is it just Mom's?" He goes, "No." He says, "I'll just put you down." He says, I'll put Mom and Ella's in. It's just, they need somebody to be on here for me, and that's it." And it was very vague about it, so I'm like, whatever, okay. Again, I wasn't thinking about it. Hindsight, I'm like, oh, that was your life insurance, or that was this, or that was that. But it was no big deal. Again, whatever comes to me comes to our family anyhow, so that's not an issue in that regard, at least in our perspective or our situation. But I didn't know what he did until afterwards. And I have to tell you that even though not all of you are going to be dealing with a UELS or might have the opportunity to have a good company work with you on behalf of life insurance and AD&D, as they call it, accidental death and dismemberment. I would tell you to do some homework, talk to people that might have a life insurance policy. It's a strange conversation to have, or at least a question to ask them, and if they've ever had interactions with their life insurance policy or not. I have not had any interaction with my life insurance policy or agent other than just getting it. And I've had it for the better part of 20 some years now. 19 years, 20 years. Liberty does life insurance. I dealt with them. Phenomenal people. It's not who I have, so I'm not plugging them because of anything. It's who my son had. They were a blessing to deal with, the same with UELS. Look into the life insurance policy. And again, a reason why I talk about, can you prepare for a loss? Can you prepare for death? Is you can't. Physically and emotionally, you cannot. You can't. But the person, you can financially take care of your family, even for a brief period of time. Not saying millions of dollars policy or anything. A policy of just a couple $100,000. Whether it's your kid, whether you want to have a conversation with one of your children about this, or a spouse, or anyone, I can tell you that there is no way, shape, and form I was physically and mentally capable of going back to work at Menards. That's the company I used to work for. A box store. Phenomenal people. Jay and Mandy were absolutely amazing during this time, and I wanted to give them a shout out, and I have never mentioned that company before. But I've worked at Menards for about 2.5 years. I took some time off because of my dad. I was a plumbing assistant manager there. I worked pretty much almost every department in that store, and there wasn't a department I probably couldn't work except for the front end. I had nothing to do with cash registers. But anyhow, everybody at Menards has been wonderful. The support, the friendship, and the love I got from so many there at Menards was great. I can't say you're going to get that at every Menards. I don't know that, because Menards is a big company. But here in Gillette, Wyoming, that general manager and human resources director and so many other people there have been great to me. And I want a big shout out to a lot of them folks there. Without naming a bunch of names and making people feel like I forgot them or something, just thank you. I appreciate it. But I would not have been able to go back when I had to go back because of everything I've been dealing with. And I've been dealing with a lot more than just now what I and my family are realizing, more than just the death of Ben. That was just the incident. Now I have a lot of the trauma afterwards, and that has opened up a lot of other problems with me in general, as well as there's a whole bunch of other things that if I tried to talk about it right now, the video would be 3 hours long. But anyhow, what ended up happening is because Ben put me down, I was his beneficiary. So I had to deal with everybody. I have to deal with the county. I have to deal with the families. I have to deal with the friends. I have to deal with all the employment. I have to deal with all the insurance companies. I have to make all those calls, those emails, go to get all the certifications and everything else. I have to do all of that. And now it's not as hard to deal with as it was the first 30 days and the first 60 days. It's not as bad having just crested a 3-month period of time. There's a lot of things I can talk about now that I couldn't then. Just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get through it. But the insurance, if you had a life insurance policy and your child passed away, you can think how bad it would be, you don't know what it's going to do to affect you. It affects me different than it does Kasha and Ella. It does differently than my dad. It does differently than the brothers and the sisters and everybody else on Kasha's family. So everybody's affected differently. Ben used to come to Menards when I was working there, either part-time, full-time, or even as in management. He would come by and hang out. He'd ice fish with some guys and played video games with some of them and such. But he would just come out and talk and chit-chat, and Menards became a family. So when I walk into Menards, I have such bad anxieties, and everywhere I look, I swear I see Ben. It's like I'm at the desk and I'm doing something, and I see I can't function. I couldn't at that time, so I had to leave. I had to resign from Menards. But I could do that for two reasons. One, Kasha went back to work, and the hospital doesn't remind her of Menards or of Ben. It's just work. Everybody at the hospital was phenomenal too. The people over there, management, everything treated us so well and looked out for whatever we needed, and they were great. But after a couple of weeks, Kasha wanted to go back to work first because she needed it. Is how she coped, the busy hands and to do that stuff. Now I had stuff to keep me busy, of course, so she needed something to keep busy. Plus also, they were very short-handed there. So she didn't want to push that burden on. Yes, we're suffering, we're sad, we have to deal with things, but she didn't want this to snowball into so many other problems for other people that were looking out for us at a time. So she went back to work to do that. And then Ella went back to her part-time because she's full-time in college. She went back to her part-time, having only been there a couple of days, and nothing there ever bothered her or anything like that. It was, again, busy hands and do stuff. I had a lot of stuff here to keep me busy and a lot of things that were dragging me down. It was the life insurance policy that is ultimately helping us out with not just dealing with everything. My lack of income, CK Knife and Tool is not open right now for knife sales. So there's that problem, even though sales have been pretty bad the last couple of years. And then all the bills, whatever he had, a credit card bill, his car payment, and all that. And so that's why I could say, yes, you can prepare in a way for a loss, because you don't know what effect it's gonna have on you. And now this is just our son. He lived with us. He didn't have a lot of debt at all. So it was a little bit easier in that regard. But if you take it to where you have a brother or a sister, or you have kids, even kids that might be off doing their own thing, and they might have maybe a home, maybe they have something, but they're still single and they don't have children or they're not married. Talking to them about a life insurance policy would be nice, because if they pass, that life insurance policy will make things so much easier for you to actually help them move forward. It's almost like walking through a rainstorm, and that we can all walk through the rainstorm. It's just the life insurance policy is the one that's going to be that umbrella or that jacket. And I think there's a company out there that uses an umbrella as a icon or something, but it's true. You can put that raincoat on and put that hood over your head so you're not getting wet, your body's not getting chilled, and you're able to persevere through all these struggles, all these challenges, and these problems that you're facing right now. And as a child gets older, they're going to end up accruing more things. You're going to get more stuff. You're going to have more responsibilities, and some of those are payments. Some people, you can call them and you can contact them and be, hey, this, so-and-so passed. You'd send them a death certificate and everything was good there, and they're okay with it. Other companies like Geico are horrible to deal with when it comes to insurance. So you just let that policy lapse. So I had a lizard in my throat, frog or lizard in my throat. So that specific company, not so easy to deal with. So I would say life insurance policies, look that up, look through your own to see what you have, because also I'm only speaking in the perspective of the injured party, not the party that was maybe responsible for the injury. I can say if you're a party that would be responsible for the injury, check your insurance for your motor vehicle and things like that, because You want to be protected. You want to be able, if it's, in our case, if it's a genuine accident and there's nothing malicious or anything about that, which there wasn't in this case, you would want something that was good enough to help the people that are involved at least get by for a while, or do things, or help kind of calm stuff just a little bit. Okay, it might not be the full-on raincoat and parka, maybe it is an umbrella, just a little one. Hey, why don't you hold on to this for a second for a while, go ahead and borrow it. You could have that, and then we'll get back to getting your raincoat and stuff later. And then what is your policy for the accident itself? Is it a 100, 300? Is it a 250, 1 million? Is it just a full-on, $1 million or $5 million, like a bucket policy where they just reach in, take money and give it to whoever needs it for whatever reason? But there's a cap to it. Look at your insurance, because not only would it help the people that are involved, and it actually shows that you're concerned and you care, but it also will help protect you later on down the line. Now, in our regards, we're not going after the family. We're not doing anything like that. I've addressed that a long time ago, and I addressed it with all them, so I'm not getting into any of the details there, but I would have to say, have a policy for yourself as a driver or as a homeowner and such. So this way, if anything does occur, your policy is such a good policy, such a nice policy, and you have such good people as your insurance company to represent you for the victim families and stuff like us. That goes a long way. And that takes me to another company I'm going to give a shout out to, is Acuity Insurance. Acuity Insurance is the people I've dealt with so far, even though there's some little things we have to deal with, which is kind of silly. It has nothing to do with them. It's the state I live in. Acuity Insurance has been great, and they have been nothing but patient and thoughtful and considerate to my family and I. So I have to give a big shout out to them, and that in part gives a big shout out to the parents of the son, or the people of the policy holders. They were great by having this, and that's why I say that, because this is for them to say thank you. They had enough forethought to have a good company. Maybe just by default they just happened to know this, or they did their research, but they have a good insurance company. They have good people that are their spokespeople, and I appreciated that as the person having to deal with all this. So to wrap this all up and end the video again, and I'm trying not to be melancholy, it's more just think about things a little bit, and I can delve a little bit about my experience in this now. Is if you have newborns, even grandchildren, you as a grandparent can maybe make it as a gift to your kids to get your grandchild a life insurance policy. And then you as a grandparent would pay that every year as part of maybe a birthday present. And that would go in, towards that direction. That would be part of your present towards your grandchild and their future. Doesn't mean you're not going to buy the G.I. Joe or the Star Wars or the Barbie or something like that, but still it's more responsible, because now it's an investment policy that when that grandchild grows up to 18, they now have something that they can carry on and change it and shift it. You can close that account and move it to an IRA or some other type of investment, or just leave it there. So look into that. And again, I'm not affiliated with Gerber or any of these other companies that I've talked with. I'm just giving them shout outs because of my personal experience. And I think my personal experience in the last 90 days is something I think I've earned a right to be able to say these people have treated us good. Take a look at them. Again, not every company has great representatives throughout the United States. I might have just lucked out and had everybody that I've mentioned be really good. So do that. Look into that and do it all. As a grandparent, maybe it's something you want to do for your grandchild. As a parent, maybe it's something you want to do with your kid. And as your child, like Ella, she is now an adult, it's something that you can talk to your adult children about. Because I can tell you right now, if something else like this happened to me again, but with Ella, we would not be in the same situation financially, and it would be a lot worse. I'll leave you with this. My mother-in-law came to visit, and there was some friends in Poland, neighbors in their small town, family with 6 kids. they lost their son, I think it was, while he was driving a motorcycle, and got into an accident and was killed. And then a few months later, 3 of their kids were driving in a car coming back from someplace, were in an accident, and they were killed. This family lost 4 of their 6 children in less than a year. I could not, I don't know. I don't know. Look into it, use this as whatever you can or want. But I just appreciate y'all with the support, especially a lot of you that have been reaching out after the videos. I've got maybe 1 or 2 more of these that I would just like to talk to folks about, and it does help me too. As I've explained to some folks, I actually didn't think I'd ever do a video again. And I don't mind doing this. I think maybe it might help 1 person or 2 people, and then I've done my job. I do have some other content I'd like to share with you all. Actually, a new partnership of all the things. It just came out, and I don't know if it's very time sensitive or not, but I would definitely like to share it with you because it was something that I was really very interested in, and it kind of segues into this, but at a later date. So I'm not as melancholy or humdrum. But with that said, I do appreciate it, guys. Thank you for everything. Again, no knife sales as of yet. We're just kind of getting other things going with family and such, and then we'll see what happens from here on. Working on some projects with Ruby just to keep myself busy. It's stuff that Ben and I were going to be doing when he was around, so I'm doing that. So maybe I'll get a walk around video finally of Ruby and what Ben and I started and what I've been finishing. We'll get that taken care of. But until the next video, gang, thank you very much for everything. Thank you for your patience, your support, all your kindness, all the words, everything. It's not falling on deaf ears. I do thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. So until the next video, I'll take it easy. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you then.